Hello and welcome to Why Wasn't It Better? I'm your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
What happens when you cast one of the biggest movie stars on the planet, throw him into a desolate New York City, add a loyal dog, a deadly virus, and some seriously questionable CGI monsters? You get I Am Legend, a movie that almost pulled off something great until it didn't. We're talking iconic imagery, awkward third act pivots, and why the alternate ending might have saved everything. And here to help us figure that out is a return guest who we haven't seen in quite some time, Dennis Berscak. Welcome back to the podcast.
Ooh, Dennis.
What's up, boys? All right,
Dennis, how you doing? We haven't seen you in a while.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good, keeping busy painting things, and very much looking forward to this. It was a long time coming. You know, I have a bit of a personal connection with the New York City thing, so very much looking forward to this movie review.
You do. New York City and global pandemics, you do have a connection to, and that's all we'll say about that for now.
It's home.
But Dennis, you're a bit of a special guest because, you know, you, in your own words, you don't see that many movies. So getting you back to return, we had to figure out which ones that you really had seen. But this one, you and I had talked about this years ago.
A lot. At the time, I'm not sure if we knew each other at the time it came out, but I remember talking to you earlier in knowing each other, our relationship, about this movie and doing our own little movie reviews. Like, just again, it was a very, if not the most talked about movie at the time. But yeah, I don't watch a lot of movies, so I had to go out of my way to rent this, and I gotta say, it cost $4, but I feel like I only got $3 worth. It was like I was sitting there with the remote, kind of going like, "Oh shit, that's it! Like, that's the end." Yeah, I forgot. It's just kind of over at some point. So, you know, it was one that I very much looked forward to, but then remembered why I haven't seen it in so long. And it didn't disappoint because it disappointed, if that is a thing that you can understand.
Well,
I think I can understand.
It's funny because I think the studio also agreed, you know what, we don't want to leave a bad taste in people's mouths. Let's run it back.
Do it again, but for reals, like that. Yeah.
And let's put Michael B. Jordan in.
Oh man,
Is that really happening? The sequel?
It's really happening. It's really happening.
When?
Is it a sequel? Or
it's a sequel.
They're working on it. I want to say that, like, if not next year, the year after. Like, they're pushing it out.
So okay, I guess there's so many things about this movie.
There's a lot of things.
Well, hold it for now.
Yeah, we'll hold off, like the glass can hold off these albino creatures.
Yeah.
This is
just for so long. Enough for this monologue.
Anton, before you intro this for us, I want to begin with a quote. It is not the film's tagline, but it is somewhat related to this movie. It is from the great Marshall Mathers, who said, quote, "Will Smith don't gotta cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do. So fuck him and fuck you too." End quote.
End quote.
That's
now you can intro it for us, Anton.
That's the real Slim Shady.
Yeah.
Please stand up. So, released on December 14th, 2007 by Warner Brothers Pictures, Village Roadshow Pictures, Weed Road Pictures, Overbrook Entertainment, and Rose City Pictures. Directed by Francis Lawrence. Screenplay by Mark Protosevich and Akiva Goldsman, based on the novel I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, and the screenplay for The Omega Man by John William Corrington and Joyce H. Corrington, starring Will Smith, Alice Braga, and Dash Mahawk. With a budget of $150 million, or $230 million just for inflation, and a box office of $585 million, $900 million adjusted for inflation. It sits at a 68% Rotten Tomatoes score. Pat, we got a bit of a taste of this film in the intro. Why are we talking Will Smith and I Am Legend today?
A couple of months ago, I got kind of a semi-angry email from a listener who was irate about why haven't you covered a Will Smith movie yet? And my answer to this listener, which is my answer to all of our listeners who ask very similar questions, why haven't you covered fill in the blank, is I don't know.
We can do this exercise with many different films. Why
Yes.
haven't you covered Freedom Riders? Why
I
haven't
don't
you
know.
Why haven't you covered Alpha Dog?
I don't know.
Why haven't you covered Stomp the Yard?
Great movie.
Look, to build on my I don't know answer a little bit, it really is I don't know. Look, our list of films that we intend to cover is now over 1,100 at this point. I try to pick a diverse set of films for each season that we cover. I don't know why we haven't covered Will Smith yet. And I understand this listener's point because for our generation, millennials, he is maybe the biggest movie star. He's certainly top 3.
Yeah, just influential TV star.
He's up there with the greats of our generation.
Yeah,
like the
platinum-
most popular.
Platinum record.
Yeah, I know his
rapper,
songs like
no
the
joke.
back of my hand.
He was a lot of things in the 90s and the 2000s. He was in the conversation for biggest movie star in the world. And he was a rapper, and you're right, Anton, a former TV star. Now he's unfortunately kind of a joke. It's kind of a shame.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it a little bit. His downfall needs to be studied. Books need to be written about it if they haven't been already. He is completely uncool now. But if you wind the clocks back 20 years, his movies were events. He was really cool. I mean, I looked forward to seeing this movie. I mean, we'll talk about it throughout this recording. The hype for this movie, Anton, was huge. Dennis, you alluded to this earlier. This was a massive movie when it came out. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone I know went to see it.
Do you know offhand the movie he did right before this?
Was it Hitch?
7 Pounds or Hitch?
That was after this. 7 Pounds was after
So it was
this.
probably Hitch.
Hitch or the Pursuit of Happiness would have been right before this.
I went to theaters to watch Hitch.
I
All
did too.
of those are better movies than this. They've aged better. We're doing this movie. We're not doing those, and those were all Will Smith movies.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
he really
it's
was the
bad.
golden goose in Hollywood, though, Anton. I mean,
He was so good, but
he was.
this one had the biggest hype and the biggest letdown. I think that's part of it. It was just the hype around it from the movies he did, both leading up to and after. Yeah, I think you see a clear the mixture wasn't there for this one.
Was it this one or was it Hancock?
Both. Pick one. Either.
Hancock was the end for him.
Yeah, Hancock was probably shouldn't have done a movie with American Eagle, but
That was this on steroids, literally.
So I have written
make
down
him the
here.
Superman.
From 1995 to about 2008, which is when Hancock came out, he was pretty much Hollywood's golden goose along with Tom Cruise. Now, obviously, Tom Cruise over time has been the bigger star. There's no debate about that. Tom Cruise started well before Will Smith. Tom Cruise is still one of the biggest movie stars in the world. It's completely unprecedented. But this might be a hot take, and I'm curious to hear both your thoughts on this. At his peak, I really feel like Will Smith was the king. His movies felt like events. You had the music thing that he was doing in the 90s on top of it. I think at his peak, Will Smith was a bigger star than Tom Cruise.
there's only maybe 2 other actors that I can think of around that time that probably you could argue were in contention. But even then, I think it's clear Will Smith put out more films. But I'm thinking Leo is in that conversation.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio's got to be up there. Brad Pitt? No, maybe.
Brad Pitt, no, not the box office stuff.
Not as
Yeah.
Remember,
like
I'm
box office
factoring in the
wise.
movies and the rap stuff on top of
he had
it.
the name, but and like the stardom, but it seemed like everything that this guy touched turned to gold from the early 90s, the late 80s, whenever he started, till I Am Legend.
Pretty much.
So yeah, who else?
Tom Hanks was huge then.
Tom Hanks was very, very big.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
another one. Everything he touches.
Jim Carrey?
Huge, massive.
Similar, very
I
similar.
think Smith is on the top of this mountain, though. If you factor in the music part of it, he was. Think about how many people our age owned Big Willie Style,
Okay,
the album.
I was gonna say let's be really, really clear here. There's a distinction between early Will Smith rap that people listen to na 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 na. Like, that was not a good song.
Yeah, but Anton, you're clowning on it. That was a #1 hit, though. It was
You
that
can
song
put it
was
on
massive
right now and anywhere,
Understand.
and
Think
Think
everyone
about it.
will
Like
sing with it.
1997, he's in Men
Yeah.
in Black. Men in Black makes $500 million at the box office, and he sings the title song from the movie, which hits
And he kills it.
#1.
Yeah, and he kills it.
You
Yeah.
might not like his music, you might think it's corny, but it was popular.
He was getting jiggy with it.
Yeah, he's like almost like the king of pop at the time. If Michael Jackson was the actual king of pop, like, you know, he was like a different type of pop,
Yeah,
right? If that makes sense.
because it was definitely pop rap for sure.
Mhm.
Pop rap. Yeah. Thank you.
Basically, Hollywood had this rule called the Will Smith rule at the time, which is if a movie came out in the summer starring him, it was guaranteed to open at #1.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is it #1 because it's Will Smith, or is Will Smith being placed in these #1 box office roles?
It's a good question. I don't know how you can answer it because I
He
mean
was really good.
right.
I mean, it's interesting because nowadays it's hard to find actors with the same, like, you could think of it like a triple threat presence, like acting, or at least triple threat traditionally, right? Acting, singing, dancing. But
Jamie Foxx.
I mean, arguably now, like the Rock is considered like the box office. Like, you're gonna
He's-
get a blockbuster
no.
bringing him your film.
No.
I mean, Pat, we could have our reservations aside. The man did gangbusters for Jumanji.
Oh, I mean, I actually don't think this is debatable. He can't carry his own franchise. He's proven that.
We'll get
This
to
isn't
it.
debatable. It's
Yeah.
not.
I mean, Pat, like, he's literally the highest earning star in Hollywood.
I don't give a shit what the numbers are. He cannot carry his own franchise. He has to piggyback onto Fast and the Furious, onto already existing IP like Jumanji. No one is going to see movies because of the name Dwayne Johnson. They're not.
They did
Men
for
in
the
Black's
Jungle Cruise.
original.
The Jungle Cruise didn't make money.
Independence Day
Yeah.
was original,
Right.
right?
Will Smith
Tom
was in a
Cruise was
completely
all
separate.
original.
There is
Right.
no modern equivalent of Will Smith.
Right, and that's all I'm trying to say. There is no
Yeah.
modern equivalent, but something comparable to at least like a blockbuster for the modern day. People do look at Dwayne Johnson.
The
I don't think
closest
they do.
he had to was Walking Tall. That was like his breakout type of role,
was
and that
alright.
was like a scripted story.
Right.
He was just kind of jacked and smashing people with
Anton, don't
4x4s.
protect him. He doesn't need you to.
Who else? I think that's
There really isn't
like,
anyone.
right, I think you said, but I think that covers like
So
all
this
those
one.
type of things.
But Dennis, why did you want to be on this episode? Like, what about I Am Legend that made you say yes when I gave you a couple different choices?
Ooh, I'm trying to think real quick. Do you know what some of the other choices were? Because I know
I
why
don't
I
remember.
picked this one. Yeah, why specifically this one? I know it sticks out. During pandemic of COVID, I lived in New York City or Jersey City, along with you, and I worked in the hospitals in New York City. So I was having to commute on the subways and on the buses and walk in and all around New York City during the lockdowns, going from hospital to hospital. And there was just hilariously quiet commutes where there's no one on the train, just me or like me and like one person on each train, each subway car at 8 o'clock in the morning, rush hour on a Tuesday, Wednesday. The whole week is like that. The whole month is like that. I'm walking down Park Avenue and 5 o'clock at night on my way home, across the street, green lights both ways, no cars, no people, and it's just quiet. There's like a pigeon, and I'm like, I think I've seen this before. I'm just imagining like driving a Mustang through this, right? A bright red Mustang. That's all I could imagine. So that's a big reason why this movie kind of hits home. And like, I know a lot of people have their own kind of relational things to that, but yeah, that one hit home in a weird way at the time.
Understandable. So,
But yeah.
Anton, this movie comes out.
Right.
You saw it in theaters. I did, just like me, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate it when I saw it, but I didn't love it either. And most of the people I saw it with had the same reaction coming out of the theater. We're like, oh, that was all right.
Yeah, so 2007 timeline wise, I'm in high school, and so I was still like, I would say at the time I was like, it was all right, but also it was the time where like memes were kind of becoming a bit more easy to share. So there were a really popular meme at the time, or at least people were clowning on it a bit, was like, this was the same guy from Shark Tale. So I think this didn't, I mean, we'll talk about it. This did not really do great for his legacy, but Shark Tale, I think you could probably look at the timeline and say, what happened there?
It is on our list of films to cover. Nathan wants to talk about it. Friend of the show, Nathan Perry.
Friend of the show. But no,
you read the book.
Yes, I read the book. And just quick background on that note, you know, I really loved the book, I really loved the graphic novel, and I read the book I Am Legend on top of that, loved it. Watched Omega Man, you know, it was all right. Then I Am Legend, and I was like, this really is not like the book. But we'll get there, I guess.
That's the one thing I heard, is that the actual movie was not exactly a direct translation.
Yeah, no, there's a lot aesthetically that I think it takes from.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, there was another adaptation that was really popular, was 1964's The Last Man on Earth. Vincent Price played the main character. That's a really great adaptation, by the way, if anyone wants to watch, for I Am Legend. Pretty unique one, pretty influential one. But this one, very far off from the original graphic novel, from the original novel.
I read the novel as well, and I like it. We'll talk about it a little bit later. I think in some ways this film improves on some things from the novel, but overall, the changes that it makes, probably not the best decision that they could have made.
Yeah.
More on that later. Directed by Francis Lawrence, this film, I wanted to shout him out because he's done some other pretty high-profile stuff. He directed Constantine with Keanu Reeves. He directed 4 of the Hunger Games films. Those are very big movies. He did Red Sparrow starring Jennifer Lawrence. Right. Also Jennifer Lawrence. And then, of course, very, very recently, which came out a couple months ago, he did the adaptation of Stephen King's The Long Walk. So Francis Lawrence still working, still doing a bunch of high-profile stuff. But before we get to the production history of this, Anton, we can't talk about a movie without talking about the 6 degrees of Warren Beatty's sex life.
All right.
Dennis, I have this theory that every film in Hollywood can be connected by the number of women that Warren Beatty had sex with.
Has it been proven wrong so far?
No. This one, it's a stretch. This is the best I could come up with. So, Anton, you may or may not know Will Smith is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He is married to Jada Pinkett Smith. You may also know that. Could do a whole podcast on their marriage, as I'm sure some have done. So anyway, Jada Pinkett Smith was in The Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy, who was in Boomerang with Halle Berry. Halle Berry starred in Bulworth, which is featuring and directed by Warren Beatty, and they may or may not have had a fling during the filming of that film, despite Warren Beatty being married at the time. So, Anton, this is a bit of a stretch, but this is the best I could do.
I can cut a few steps from there.
Please do.
So Will Smith, of course, married to Jada Pinkett Smith, who I guess was romantically like forever bonded to Tupac.
Yes.
Who dated Madonna, who slept with Warren Beatty.
She dated Madonna?
Yeah. Tupac dated Madonna.
Wow.
For a short period.
Good for Tupac.
Yeah.
Good connection.
Good for Madonna, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah. It's got the wall with the pins.
Maybe. That's way better than what I came up with, Anton. So thank you.
I like yours because it allows us to not have to have a repeat person that's banged Warren Beatty, right? Because we already talked about Madonna. We already talked about Madonna before.
That can't be one of the rules. He's one guy.
He's one guy who did a lot of damage, Anton.
It's a long.
He did a lot of damage, Dennis.
Yeah. Don't limit yourself like that.
I was thinking about this before I want you to start the production history, Anton. So Beatty was married to Annette Bening, still married to Annette Bening, right? I'm like, what are the chances he didn't make a run at Halle Berry during the filming of this movie? I'm gonna say
Come
0.
on. Yeah, no, it's got to be. Come on.
Just Hollywood's a small place. If you're using, Jada Pinkett Smith and Madonna to connect these dots, it's gonna be a big web.
Yeah. Well, then, without further ado,
Sorry.
Let's jump in.
I'll start this off.
Mm-hmm.
In 1995, Warner Brothers began developing a film project. They owned the rights to Richard Matheson's novel. Since 1970, they had already made the Omega Man. Mark Protasevich was hired to write the screenplay. We've talked about him before, right, Anton? I recognize that name.
Yeah, I've heard that name before. I think he delivered dim sum one time.
Is he responsible for some shit like Prometheus? I feel like he might be.
You know
Anyway.
what? I don't like to speculate and put. Oh, you know what? Really funny. Thor. Yeah, he worked on Thor.
I knew I recognized him.
Yeah.
So he wrote the first draft of this. It originally took place in San Francisco. It contained similarities to the finished film. The Dark Seekers were civilized to the point of the creatures in the Omega Man, and Anna was going to be a morphine addict. Oh, WTF to that. Tom Cruise, Michael Douglas, and Mel Gibson were considered for the lead. That's insane to think about Michael Douglas and the lead to this. Ridley Scott was going to direct the film, but by mid-1997, the studio wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger. Scott and Schwarzenegger finalized negotiations. Production was going to begin in September of 1997. Scott hired John Logan to rewrite Protasevich's script. It's like, everyone you know is dead. They're all dead. The virus had a 90% infection rate. It killed everyone. Everyone else turned into some kind of a vampire zombie thing. I don't know.
It's in the blood.
Were they going to try to pass Schwarzenegger off as like a scientist? Because that doesn't work.
It would have been better. He would have been better suited as one of the Dark Seekers.
He figures something out. Oh.
What I did with the mannequin.
What the fuck did I do wrong? Tell me. Oh, man. Thank goodness they canceled this. The studio began to grow weary of Scott's vision for the film. They believed it lacked commercial appeal. So in March of 98, they canceled it. Here's the thing, Anton. Scott hadn't had a hit in years, and Arnold was no longer the box office juggernaut that he had been. And my theory for you, Anton, is that this is coming off of Batman and Robin, which pretty much killed Arnold's career. So you finish this off.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. At the turn of the millennium, Warner Brothers remained committed to reviving the project. As late as 2002, Arnold was still attached as a producer. Michael Bay was going to direct, and this was when Will Smith officially became involved. Akiva Goldsman was asked to co-produce and co-write the film. A rewrite was done to distance the project from the other zombie films inspired by the novel, as well as from the recently released 28 Days Later. Will Smith originally approached Guillermo del Toro to direct, but del Toro passed in favor of making Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. In September 2005, Francis Lawrence was hired to direct. When delays occurred on Smith's film Hancock, which originally was scheduled for 2007, it was proposed to switch the actors' films. I Am Legend quickly entered pre-production, and Goldsman's script moved the setting from LA to New York, and WB initially rejected this idea, but director Francis Lawrence was determined to shoot on location. The infected Darkseekers were designed by Patrick Tatopoulos, who also did the alien designs for Independence Day. Filming began in September 2006. The Marcy Avenue Armory in Williamsburg was used for the interior of Neville's home, while Greenwich Village was used for the exterior. Other locations include the Tribeca section of Lower Manhattan, the aircraft carrier Intrepid, the Kingsbridge Armory in the Bronx, and St. Patrick's Cathedral. They were able to convince authorities to close busy areas such as Grand Central Terminal Viaduct, or the Grand Central Terminal Viaduct, several blocks of Fifth Avenue, and Washington Square Park. A bridge scene was filmed for 6 consecutive nights in January on the Brooklyn Bridge to serve as a flashback scene in which New York citizens evacuate the city. Shooting the scene cost $5 million alone, and filming wrapped in March 2007. After audiences reacted negatively to the original ending, reshoots took place in November, less than a month before the film's release. Well, that brings us to our meat of the program. Why wasn't it better? And with that, what is our top reason?
Will Smith. If you're not in on Will Smith, you're probably not going to like this movie. This is kind of like Tom Hanks in Castaway. It is a one-man show for most of the film. This is basically as minimalistic as a major blockbuster gets. While I don't think I'm spoiling what I'm going to say about this film, which is overall, I don't really care for this film. I think Will Smith is pretty great. He pulls this off. This is a very difficult role to do, and I think Will Smith does a great job here.
His role. He's got to carry it. And the fact that it's like rewatchable at all means he's something worth watching. Because I was saying there's not a lot of dialogue, especially in the first half.
Yeah, it's a interesting exercise. I think isolated acting always presents it's a unique challenge. I think like the better actors are able to bring about more emotion from it. Roles that really come to mind, Tom Hanks in Castaway. I think like you
Right.
have a role like that, you can see what he does with that kind of role, and you legit think he's insane. In the same way that Will Smith looks like he's unraveling mentally in this film.
Yeah, he's talking to mannequins and not just for, because of ha-has. And he's got no one else to talk to for real. So he's longing for some conversation. And yeah, I think he does a good job.
Yeah, you really do feel all the stuff he's going through, right? The isolation, the grief, the madness. And that's what's so interesting about this role is it's like you put yourself in his shoes, anyone would go crazy. Now, how
Right.
quickly you'd go crazy is I think that might depend upon the individual. Some people would be able to maintain a sense of normalcy for longer than others. And as we see from, the flashbacks and his story, his character's story in this film, he is very well equipped to deal with this situation. He's a military scientist. He has weapons training. He's in some ways he is quote unquote prepared for what his character is put into. Not that anyone could really be prepared for this, but my question for you both, is this his finest performance?
No, you're thinking of The Legend of Bagger Vance. Particularly that ending. Just
See, yeah, I mean, Independence Day, he doesn't have to act as much in that movie.
No, he just has to be funny and rescue his wife, girlfriend.
He's a
at some
little more
point.
himself, right?
Right.
He, his earlier stuff, while it's like it's not as great in comparison to some of the other movies. It's like a lot campier, but it's much more just him being himself. This one, it's nothing to do with Will Smith. It's everything to do with Robert Neville. So he does a great job. Maybe his best. I gotta say 7 pounds. That might be up there.
Really?
Pursuit
You're
of
going to bring up
Happiness.
7 pounds?
This is going to be super silly, or it may seem silly. Now, I'm not going to say King Richard just because, like, even though he won the Oscar for it,
Nobody
didn't
cares
see it
about
yet.
that movie.
like, it's not compelling. I'm not going to rewatch it.
No.
Okay.
I loved him in Men in Black.
Men in Black.
I feel like that's when he was in his element. To say that he didn't have to act much, I think that just goes to show how great of a job he did in the film. Now, maybe it doesn't elicit the same emotional response as you do like in a film like this, but I think it did show like where his strengths are. And to see him in this film now, to say like, okay, he has a bit more range. But I do really love love him in Men in Black.
I know what you mean, Anton. Like, I think this was a more demanding role for him. Is it a more entertaining role? No, definitely not. I mean,
all right, fine. His best role's Hitch.
he's pretty good in Hitch. I know what you both are saying, because the best version of Will Smith is probably when he's flexing his comedic skills, because he's genuinely hilarious when he wants to be.
Yeah, laughs on command.
Can I give you a curveball for my pick? I think it's when he goes R-rated, which was very, very rare in the two Bad Boys films, when he gets to curse a lot, and it's so funny. It's kind of like, it's the same thing you were saying, Anton, where Men in Black, that's one of my picks. But it's like, what if he just dropped a bunch of F-bombs?
I totally see where you're coming from. I think that's a great choice. I think people take for granted if he feels a little too in his element, but you said it really well. Like, these are his strengths.
He does a little bit of it in this film, a tiny, tiny bit, but it's not that kind of film.
Yeah, very little. But I think it's why, I don't want to talk about all of Will Smith's filmography too much, but it's why when I watch like Pursuit of Happiness, it is a challenge for him as an actor. He does want to have an Academy Award, and maybe from his perspective, the best way to do that is to go the more dramatic route. But something about his performance still just doesn't completely sell for me in that film.
Did you buy him as a virologist?
I don't think so. So when you tell me that he was experimenting on these poor creatures, I'm like, what was he doing?
Well, yeah. Wait, are you referring to the poor creatures in the not real ending of this film?
Well, that's a good point, because it's officially not the real ending.
No.
Yeah, I guess we should figure out, we're all talking about the same movie?
By the rules of how we're doing this, we have to talk about this with the theatrical ending. We do.
Right.
Which is the worst ending.
Right.
The butterflies?
We'll get to that in a second. Do you find his character interesting, Robert Neville?
Not entirely.
He's obsessed. He's an obsessive. Just like, I don't know, a well-oiled machine of a person. Yeah, it's like...
Starts to crack.
I guess, that's what you need to fix humanity when there's a pandemic.
He's Tom Hanks in Castaway, but he's in Manhattan.
Yeah, picks the worst place in the world if there's zombie apocalypse. I mean, you think a guy with a brain, whether you have a good apartment or not, would go away from the city, whether the roads are blocked or not. Also, there's a lot about this movie. Can I go off?
You can.
The lady drove for like an hour and found the frickin' civilization. He was like broadcasting for 3 years.
They forgot to blow up that bridge?
And so I feel like with
get on to Manhattan.
How would she? Because it seems like the amount of driving, being able to get gas effectively doesn't seem easy.
I didn't think about that, Pat. How did she get onto Manhattan?
They show her at the end driving out of Manhattan on a bridge, but it's like, I thought they blew up all the bridges.
Yes. No, actually, no. It makes more sense that he would be stuck on more or less stuck on Manhattan. I was so wrong about that because they blew up all the bridges. It'd be a lot harder to get off of Manhattan, especially if every night you're getting attacked. So you built up a bunker, which just shows up.
Which river is the least distance to swim across?
It would be the East River.
The East River?
Yeah. But again, you're talking about they blow up all the bridges.
Did they blow up
They show that happening.
Did they blow up the tram to Long Island City?
That would still put you on an island. He couldn't go upstate.
It looks like they pretty thoroughly blew up.
I thought that too, but apparently not. They missed one.
They missed one. It was a tunnel. They didn't use the submarine.
Before we move on, I have to say, if Will Smith had been nominated for an Oscar for this, I wouldn't complain because, like, the scene where he has to strangle Sam to death, I mean, it's incredible acting from him. It really is.
His relationship with the dog is my favorite part.
Yeah, he's great. Maybe my qualms are just with like some of like the choices on the screenplay and the actual execution on like the CGI and stuff like that. And just nitpicks mostly, but maybe the ending. But there's all sorts of stuff we can pick.
I can't blame Will Smith for that necessarily.
Yeah, right.
If you look at his filmography, this is pretty much the last interesting role he ever did.
Well, let's take a look, why don't we?
Men in Black 3, I think, ended up being better than it should have been, but I mean, we were kind of teasing it earlier, Anton. He wins an Oscar years later for King Richard, a movie that nobody cares about.
Yeah, the only other role that I can look at that I actually enjoyed was his very small cameo in Anchorman 2, and even then, that was a pretty inferior film.
His career was in the tubes by that point, right?
Yeah.
When was After Earth? Was that 2012, 2013? That killed it for him.
2013. I think he was getting a bit of bad press around this era. It was the whole Scientologist connection.
He's not an actual Scientologist, right?
No, that ended up coming out afterwards when he addressed it.
He just dabbled.
What does that mean?
Just get a few Thetan readings,
It means this is the same guy that it means.
Hold on tight, Will. We're going for a ride.
He tried to. It means we ended up having a Will Smith that tried to tie himself to the DCEU and Suicide Squad.
Which none of that worked for me. I
None
mean,
of-
I know you. I think you probably like Suicide Squad more than I do, Anton. Actually, maybe not.
I like the Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad.
I don't know which is which.
That's
Which
fine.
one is he in?
He's in Suicide Squad.
Okay, that's the only one I've seen.
That's the one with Jared Leto as Joker.
Yeah, that was.
It didn't need Will Smith.
I'll put it to you this way. I wish I could unsee it.
It's really tough because you're right, Pat. If you look at the list, there's not a single film that's compelling that he's released since I Am Legend.
Like I thought Focus was
it's
okay.
It's not an exaggeration, though. I mean, come on, compared to his peak.
Well, I mean, I guess he's like a lot of movie stars, right? Like, they have their peak, and you can't expect them to maintain it forever. Like what Tom Cruise has done, that's unprecedented. Tom Cruise has been basically at the top of the mountain since the frickin' 1980s. That's
Right.
You can't expect any other movie star to do that. That's unheard of.
It's true, but I think that it's interesting to look at that timeline and just see what he has continued to do and work on. Talk about longevity. We've talked about in our most recent episode actors that continue to work well on beyond their years, and some age really well. Anthony Hopkins, but even here for Will Smith, man, it's like I would have stopped at Aladdin. Like,
I forgot about that. Oh
Yeah.
no,
You keep naming movies I forgot that he was involved in, and
that's
just
the problem.
remember he was the blue genie guy. Come on.
he should have. He definitely passed on movies he shouldn't have, and then took on a bunch that he should have passed.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we could do a whole separate episode on his career because he really is a fascinating figure to like just analyze, right? He could have been in The Matrix. He passed on it. He could have been Django in Django Unchained. He passed on it. One thing I want to say about him, and again, Anton, I don't want to spend a lot of time on his career, but what I would say is he did Ali with Michael Mann.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a claim for it. He got an Oscar nomination for it. And then it's
But
like
didn't
he
do
made,
well.
but it didn't do well financially, but he got a claim. But then he made this decision, like, I don't want to work with any director like that again. Like, why didn't he work with Steven Spielberg? Why didn't he work with Tarantino? He had the opportunity to. Why didn't he work with Martin Scorsese? It's like he just kept picking iRobot and Bad Boys 2 and Hitch. And it's like, they're fun movies, but this movie, I Am Legend, is frustrating for me because not only do I find this movie frustrating, he really can act, and he just doesn't do a lot of roles like this, and it's really weird.
I think this seems like an obvious answer in that Will Smith, and I think every actor does this, but what's going to make me money? And I
Right.
feel like for Will Smith, it's not, I hate to say it, but is it safe roles?
Very safe roles.
And
This wasn't a risk for him. I Am Legend.
This was not a risk. For a lot of his roles, they're not risks. A lot of his characters are also not very risky or villains for the most part. He very rarely took R-rated roles, right?
You're right. I mean, I knew the answer to my own question before I asked it. I mean, this was a conscious choice on his part. Dennis, he has spoken about this publicly, how he like analyzed what the highest grossing films were of all time, and he wanted to be in those types of films. That's why he was in Independence Day. That's why he picked Men in Black. That's why he picked roles like this. He thought it would make him the most money. And like, look,
He's right.
nothing against him. I can never hold it against an actor for wanting to make a lot of money. I'm sure he's probably worth conservatively several $100 million at this point. More power to him. But I just look back at his career and I wish he had done more interesting roles.
Yeah, you wish, like, again, he would do things where it's like, definitely go get the money, and then do something that has absolutely nothing to do with money and shows that just that passion that he obviously had at some point.
I think part of it as well is his journey into acting. The fact that he was able to go from a TV show and already catapult off of that fame and successfully do film, that's unique because not all TV actors end up having the kind of career that Will Smith has.
No, most of them fail.
But even in Will Smith's case, the success of TV probably allowed him to be a bit more selective of the films he wanted to be in. So that just caters to wanting to find safe roles.
Well, let's get more into this film in particular then. And we can talk about the number 2 reason why this wasn't better, which is the second half. The first 45 minutes of this film to an hour, I'd say gripping. Very atmospheric, very emotionally effective. If you want to give this film its props, which you could, I mean, seeing New York completely devoid of human life is completely jarring. They did it with a combination of actually clearing the streets, and there is some CGI at work here. But I mean, to me, this is the most memorable part of the film, is the early scenes when he's just kind of wandering around on the empty streets. It's really effective.
Yeah. New York City is an eerie place with no people or just zombie vampire things. And it's not ideal.
Those are creepy.
Yeah, they're creepy. But seeing it, again, he's hunting deer and on Madison Avenue or whatever, going down Times Square, like trying to get a buck because that might be dinner. It's just, and again, trying to envision yourself potentially like what would lead to that scenario, because you don't know while watching the movie. You're just watching a guy going through the middle of New York, an empty New York City. You don't know really what's going on. You don't have really any information going into watching this. There's hints, obviously. But yeah, I don't know, first 30 minutes or so is
riveting.
Yeah, him talking to mannequins and his dog.
Yeah, it's a very smart filming on location, just because it brought that realism. Yeah. It looks great. Like that still looks really great on TV, and it looked great in theaters. And I think that atmosphere was so important.
Anton, the DP was a guy named Andrew Lesnie. He shot the Lord of the Rings trilogy. No big deal.
Yeah, no biggie.
No big deal. Who's heard of that? And I do want to give the director, Francis Lawrence, credit, because the scenes in this film that are good are really, really good. And to me, I mean, this is what we're talking about with the second half here. All the good stuff is in the first hour. The scene where he's hanging upside down when he gets caught in the trap. I was on the edge of my seat in the movie theater. And Anton, you made a really good point to me offline. And if you weren't going to remember to bring it up, please allow me to here.
Yes.
This was really effective in the theater.
Different at home.
Not as good.
No, but is part of it because we've already seen all the jump scares?
I was yelling at my TV, like, move! Get up! Go!
But I do think
I knew what was going to happen, but I still found myself yelling.
Yeah, but in the theater, though, I think the atmosphere is so well done that you're also forced to be like in a dark room where everything in front of you can't really go away.
I have a good movie room set up down here, lights off, big TV, surround sound. So it's like you get a real good experience. And even like there are some scenes where you're like, there's something just behind you. Yeah. And if you have the right speakers, you're like, what is that? So, and again, it brings you into the movie where, it's easy to get taken out of a movie like that, especially with the bad CGI. Where you're like, that's fake. So, to get brought back in by these tense moments where he's hanging by a wire and then trying to get, back to the car before sundown, and just it's real tense. And
But you said it, when you get to that part of the film.
Well, that's it, right?
Yeah, the ball drops. Will Smith drops.
When do you actually see the first Darkseeker? Like 40 minutes into the film ish, somewhere around there.
Like it's like you see like kind of a dark version of one, right? Because it's not fully visible.
So prior to that, when Dennis, to your point, you get this really quick intro of the doctor played by Emma Thompson talking about the cure for cancer, and then it just cuts to 3 years later. There's nobody left except for this guy, Robert Neville. He's driving a Shelby GT500, red Mustang. Awesome car, by the way. It's implied that there's some threat. And if you don't know, if you've never seen the movie before, you don't really know what's going on. You're hearing about the Darkseekers. You're hearing some noises. That's all very effective. But then you see them. And they are much scarier when they are unseen, because the CGI for them is truly awful.
It's for a hot second I thought, wait, weren't those the guys from iRobot?
Sonny?
Yeah, Sonny's back. Alan Tudyk is back.
It was bad in 2007.
I think it's best when they are like in that point of view Call of Duty style behind the rifle with the flashlight, and he's like going through clearing the warehouse and the light shines on them all huddling. That is all I needed to see of them. Everything else could have been just like shadows and stuff like that, but like, seeing them all there like breathing, huddling, that's enough. Like they showed a little too much of the monster in the second half, where it kind of ruins it. Where you have all that tense build up in the first half, they just let it all out, and he's constantly like in an unwinning battle against the bad-looking monsters.
It's also, I don't think that there's a good excuse for why they look that bad. 2007 did have some really, really great CGI.
Plenty of great CGI from that era.
Like, we've talked about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You had the Transformers movies.
Yeah, the Transformers
you
movie.
had the Marvel stuff was just starting.
I think the CGI also made it a little too unbelievable with like, how strong are they? What are these things? They throw them across the room like they're actually, the Hulk. And then he's just like bouncing off the walls. So it's like, okay, they're punching and ripping through concrete buildings and steel building doors, and he's good after getting even hit once. I don't know. It's like they're not consistent. That's like some of these things like that.
Apparently,
they better.
It should have been better. I mean, did you have either of you watched the makeup test that they did for this film? Because they tried to use real makeup at first. You can watch the special effects effects makeup stuff on YouTube, Dennis, and like, apparently the test audiences said that it made them look like, quote, angry mimes. So that's why they made the decision to go to CG.
I feel like they could have put some makeup on The Rock and Arnold Schwarzenegger and had them run around.
This is where this starts to bleed into like reason number 3 a bit, but it's why I hate to hear about test audiences sometime, because then studio executives just think, well, we got to go with what these random people say.
Yeah.
And especially when it's a film like this, where I think any executive producer, studio bigwigs are like, well, we got to play it safe. Like, it could cost us a couple million. But man, it just stinks, because it's decisions like that of like, hey, like, let's make these guys roided out freaks. That's going to be what people want to see in the movie theater. Roided out CGI freaks. And it'll feel more like an action film. That take away from kind of the nuance of the novel.
It completely takes me out of the movie. I mean, they look, the CG, it looks like something from a PS2 game. It looks awful.
Yeah, right. And that's where it's like, again, the how intense everything is in the first half and how well filmed, and each frame seems well planned, just gets all thrown out into this chaotic, unrealistic battle. Because it's not, it would be more realistic if he was actually just, rifling them down. But he's in way too much hand-to-hand combat to be surviving any of that.
Oh, they're also, you were talking about the super strength, Dennis. They're also fast enough to dodge bullets when he's like trying to shoot them in his apartment. They're like,
yeah, mind you, right, in the books, they're more of like vampires.
Yeah.
Right. He's using like crosses and garlic and all that stuff.
A lot more toned down.
Which would make more sense. Yeah. Also, I did hear about this whole idea where, he's kind of, the whole story is that he's like the vampire to them.
Right, because he's stalking and killing them.
Right, which
that's
is
the theme.
That's a cool concept.
That is literally the title. I am.
That's what test audiences were like. That's lame.
Well, still talking about the first half too. So we get a couple flashbacks, right, that show the initial spread of the virus, right? The outbreak in New York, or it's in other places too, right? But I didn't need everything explained. I wish we had gotten like one more flashback that explained, like, how did this genetically modified measles virus turn people into vampires or zombies or whatever the heck they were? How did this gain of function research lead to this?
Well, they're just trying to cure cancer, and they did it.
But you guys know what I mean? Like, I was hoping there was a scene, because you know how, like, what's her name? Crippen? Dr. Alice Crippen. She's giving this interview in the beginning of the movie.
I made a really bad joke.
The Crippen.
Was her rival Dr. Bloodin?
It's so on the nose. You know how, like, she's giving this interview about, like, we have all these, like, what is it, like 10,000 test subjects and none of them have cancer now. It's like, so at what point did the virus mutate? Because it's like you have this whole trial period with the virus thing. None of those people turned into vampires. So when did this other, I don't know, I'm going down a rabbit hole here. The film doesn't answer any of this stuff.
It doesn't, but like I don't think that it's not something unique to this film. So many films follow this same like ambiguity of what causes it, right?
Fair.
Look at every single zombie film. Look at 28 Days Later. Look at Night of the Living Dead. Like there's no clear reason why things will shift the way they do. The film is more the focus is more so like how do people react to whatever has transformed.
We don't see that either, though. Everyone just dies.
We just see the.
Where are the bodies? Wouldn't there be bodies everywhere in Manhattan?
I think there were some stacks
natural
of bones.
But there's no natural predators to like break down all those bodies, right?
Because even after 3 years, you'd still see the bodies.
What do the vampires eat?
Do they?
They eat Wawa.
There's no Wawa in Manhattan.
No, you're right.
Too far north.
That's why they built the bridge. No, they built the bridge again so they can get to Wawa, and that's why there's a bridge.
I do love how they're smart enough to rig up a jig to catch a Will Smith, and that's about all they know how to do.
That's never elaborated on either. How they can set this elaborate trap for him. It's like, well, that's pretty sophisticated, but
he also makes I can't tell if this was done purposefully, but it's so ironic that he's like literally the one thing that like he does that kind of shows like a little bit of a social, like that one is yelling at him about the other catching his girl, right? And it's like he stops and looks and then writes down like, yeah, they're completely socially gone. And like clear sign. Like the guy's yelling at you about his life, dude.
These guys are crazy.
You drugged and fucking kidnapped his wife. Like, I don't know why he's yelling at me. Carry on now.
So the second half, it just drops off a cliff. And when he gets rescued by the girl and Damien from The Omen, it's like the plug gets pulled out of the movie. It tanks it.
The second half of the film is just generic schlock.
I think it was the moment I just said when he literally kind of just went dumb. Like everything at that moment, he just started doing dumb stuff. Like he was doing smart stuff and now he's doing dumb stuff. And like it was that moment he caught the one and he looks at it and the other one's yelling at him and he goes, I'm going to do dumb stuff now. And then that was it.
This movie has almost no characters in it. There's like 5 characters in the movie, right? If you're going to bring in new characters, you got to do better than this girl and Damien from The Omen. They suck. Completely uninteresting. They act stupidly. They save Neville's life, which is okay, cool. And then she somehow got to New York City from Brazil.
Which is, why does it matter, right?
It doesn't matter. But it matters to me, Anton.
Yeah.
How does the Panama Canal work?
Well, Brazil's on our side.
I knew that.
But it's just so fascinating, like the random details that they include about the side characters to get you to kind of care.
Do you care about them though?
But I don't.
They don't explain them, and they're just kind of like everyone's dead, and then she drives for like an hour or two, and
they're trying to get to Virginia.
Yeah, it's right up the block. Like,
wait, no, I thought they were going to like New Hampshire or something.
No, I thought they were going to Virginia.
No, she says like Vermont or somewhere north.
Oh, they're going to Vermont. Was it the fall? They're trying to see the leaves change.
I don't know. Leaf peeping. Wait, no. Actually, does the film? This is great. This is great stuff for our listeners right now. We're just trying to figure shit out. Did she know? You know, she tells Neville about like there's this whole survivor camp, and that's where we're going to live in this colony,
right? Yeah.
And then he's like, "How do you know?" And she's like, "I just know." It's like, but how did you learn about it in the first place?
He was working with the UN.
I don't know. This is again this is just a generic zombie film trope of like, we just got to get to the survivor's paradise. It's in a lot of different zombie films, a lot of sci-fi. If listeners are like, it's starting to jog my memory, think of Bird Box. They did this in Bird Box too.
Ugh, I'm not thanking you, but for reminding me of that awful movie.
I don't think I watched that one either.
Don't.
Yeah, you don't have to.
No need.
The lady that saved Michael Orr is
Yeah,
able to.
Yeah, thanks.
Not necessary.
She ends up being able to get her family across the world.
I thought I don't watch that many of those types of movies, but I thought A Quiet Place was pretty decent. But that's aside.
Pretty good.
I like that one.
Yeah, I like that movie.
That was a good one.
It's a far more intelligent film than this.
I think that it's where the second half of the film, and you know that the studio is looking at it, and partly like Will Smith signed up for this kind of film, is all right, let's paint by numbers, hit the boxes of like the kind of action film that we want to be, and we can kind of include these in beat for beat, that kind of film. And that includes like the hero getting saved last minute when you think he's in impending doom, to let's make sure there's like some cool gun scenes, let's also have some explosions. But the first half of the film doesn't set itself up like this.
No.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen the Patient Zero. Patient Zero. That's like if you're gonna do a trope or something of a zombie movie type thing or virus movie, right? With the flashbacks, they did such a good job with the helicopter and some of the other things that really made it, you understand where this guy's coming from. But then on the zombie side, they didn't do anything to explain like those zombies really, or the connection. I don't know.
It's an interesting concept around like we talked about this in the Marvel like rankings, is this concept of like earned. Do we feel like these zombies earn the expectation that they like can set up traps? No,
not at all.
It just happens. So it just takes you out of it completely.
Like if they were smart enough to set traps, why weren't they previously smart enough to figure out where he lived before? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have these super instincts to smell his blood and from the other room, right? But yeah, he's on the island with them, and they have no idea.
Well, this film was written by Akiva Goldsman, or at least co-written by Akiva Goldsman. Anton, I mentioned Batman and Robin earlier. He wrote that film. He also wrote The Dark Tower. He also wrote The Da Vinci Code. He keeps getting jobs.
Well, what is it? You just need like the right connection, and then you have the template for screenwriting, right?
Look, he's a very successful screenwriter. He's won an Academy Award for writing the screenplay to A Beautiful Mind. I personally think they should have pulled an Ang Lee for him. Basically like, well, we want to give you this Oscar, but you wrote Batman and Robin, so we can't. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know. I think we keep going to the behind the scenes. Is it time to touch on reason number 3?
It is. It's the ending, which is studio interference. This is where most of the criticism about this film is centered. Dennis, we were touching on this earlier. The original ending of the film, which is more faithful to the book, Neville realizes he has become the monster. The creatures that he is trying to cure, they have intelligence. They're just trying to save one of their own. It's a pretty great twist. And it didn't test well, so the studio scrapped it. They reshot it, and that is the ending that we got in the theatrical version of this film. It stinks.
Is this the dumbing down of America?
Like, it's a coward's route, is to just trust a test audience like that.
I don't know a single person who would hear that and go, that's a way better idea. That's just a better idea. It's a better movie.
Quentin Tarantino has been very vocal about hating test audiences. He doesn't use them for his films. For better or worse, like there are times where I do think test audiences have proven that, hey, like it did end up doing better for a film, but a lot of times it just ends up dumbing down films or just taking away from the quality of films. And I think it really shot this film in the foot.
I think it ruined it.
If this wasn't Will Smith, we wouldn't be talking about this movie because it wouldn't have even had the hype.
No, I mean that's a great point, Dennis. Like, and this is the thing that Anton, you were talking about with the test audiences. This was going to make $500 million regardless if they had kept the original ending, and they put this stupid ending in. And I'm sure, according to the studio, it was a major success on paper financially, so they're going to say whatever. But how much better would you have rated this, both of you, if the original ending had been kept? Like a full letter grade?
It would have saved a bit more for me. Like, if the second half is still the way it is, like I probably would have given it like a step or a half step up.
Just making sure which ending are we talking about this time?
The
If
now
they
canonical
had,
ending.
if they had kept the original ending in.
So the original ending being the I have a cure,
and like what, like
he brings it.
or he,
Yeah.
the original ending where, or the now canonical ending where he allows the female to go back to the alpha male, and it's like, oh, I realize I was the problem.
Yeah. See, even that would help. I mean, that's part of the like frustration of this movie is like you're supposed to be like inside of his head, and at no point, like you're watching the movie, like obviously he wants his girl back. You kidnapped her, and yeah, you don't he never says this in his own head, like, maybe there's something I keep seeing this guy. He looks familiar, right? Like, you know, he recognizes the mannequins, but not the same guy with the shirt yelling at him and chasing after his girl. So, yeah, I find that a bit painful in this movie. You know, it loses a letter grade at least for that.
You know what else? Like, Anton, by calling this I Am Legend, the title makes no sense with the theatrical ending.
No, there's no, like, the way that they tie it together at the end, it's just so stupid.
He's not Legend. He's not the last. He's not even close to the last person on Earth. There was a whole. He's just a sideshow.
No sense.
Now he did a good job. He figured out
what a legend.
But it's what a legend, right?
What a bloody legend.
I get okay. So the answer was, you got to mix up some stuff in a tube. Like that's what you got to do. Oh, okay. So it could have been like anyone. I don't know. He's not really Legend in this movie.
No,
that's the problem.
No, it makes more sense when, again, you consider the original novel, and like it does tie together very neatly to like vampire tropes and like mythological legend of a vampire, right? So like grounded down to that, like it ties really neatly.
You know what I really think? I think Dr. Fauci watched this movie and said, I got an idea.
Oh, man. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Anton, can I say one thing? Remember I mentioned at the top of this episode, I think this movie improves on a couple things from the novel. I think by not making the creatures actual vampires and making it this pseudoscience-based virus, that's an improvement. Because if they had been like literary vampires where he's using like silver and garlic and crosses, I think that's way cheesier. So I think in some ways that's an improvement over the novel, and that's the only one.
I'd say like execution wise, it all depends on how they execute on it.
Conceptually, that's an improvement.
It makes it more interesting. Your question, what is it? What where do they come from? How do you kill them? Do I want to kill them? But I think
like it's just so much. It's so much smarter in the book because it's not like. It's not obvious they're vampires. He has to build over time and like figure out like, oh shit, they don't come out at night. Well, let me see what happens if I give this one garlic. Oh crap, it doesn't like garlic. Is this a vampire?
Right.
It feels more natural in the books.
I know, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of downtime in the movie where there could have been some, even if it's like, like maybe over explaining. It's like, yeah, but you're supposed to be telling a story here of what the heck happened. How did we get here? And like it does a little too much of fireball and gunshots in the second half where they were telling a really good story in the first half, it seems like. So yeah, they got away from there. The
theatrical ending is thought so poorly of that they are apparently basing an entire sequel on the alternate ending. Will Smith's character is going to survive. Apparently, Will Smith is going to be in the film. Michael B. Jordan is going to co-star. And
it's official.
Really?
Apparently
It's a
It's
movie
official.
or a
it's a
show?
movie.
They've completely retconned the ending of the theatrical version.
It's going to be like Dr. Dre and just do Still Legend.
Still a legend. It's a good. You should suggest that to them. So a couple years ago, the director Francis Lawrence, he did an AMA on Reddit, and someone asked him about the ending to this film. Here's what he had to say: "Quote: The regret that I have and have had since the opening of the movie is not just doing the book, especially the ending, because we should have done the ending. But I was really in love with the idea of telling a story about the last man on Earth, which is why I think the first hour of the movie really works, and the last 30, 40 minutes doesn't work as well, because I spent most of my time focusing on the psychological aspects of a guy who has spent 3 years living by himself, having lost nearly everything." End quote. Couldn't agree more, Francis.
Yeah. Well, sad.
Well, in the
Yeah.
interest of time, do either of you have anything to add before we wrap this up and give our ratings?
Let's
When's the next
ready
time? When's the next time you'll watch this movie? That's my question.
Never.
Never.
I know. It's unfortunate because I kind of feel like unless we do another podcast on it or, maybe in 10, 15 years, I'll be like, oh, that old Will Smith movie. But they didn't do it justice. And when you hear about the book, it makes it even that much more upsetting. And so, yeah, that's my final thoughts.
What's your rating then, Dennis? You want to get right into it?
My rating. See, this is a tough one to rate. I'm not going to lie. Because, again, there's like am I rating the Will Smith part or just the overall movie part, the hype versus like the execution?
You got to rate the whole thing as the total package. If you
The
want.
whole thing, total package. We're going to go with, I give it a C+. It's watchable. It's not very rewatchable. And it was a big letdown where you felt like you were going in with an A+ paper, and then you just got handed back like all your mistakes and got shown what you did wrong. So, yeah, a lot of room for improvement. C+.
Anton, I hadn't seen this since basically it came out, so close to 20 years. Maybe once or twice since then, but don't remember much about it. My opinion of this hasn't changed too much since it was released. I still think the first hour is strong. It has thrills. It has very good imagery. I do want to give Will Smith his props here because I think he really does give a tremendous physical and emotional performance. Acting like this without anybody to act off of is really challenging, and he pulls it off. He carries this film. It's a carry job. But this film is infinitely frustrating for me because it does flirt with greatness. It nosedives in the last 40 minutes, so much so that, rewatching this last week, I didn't even want to watch it because I knew what was going to happen in the last 30, 40 minutes. The theatrical ending to this movie stinks. It disappointed me just as much now as it did in 2007. The title, I Am Legend, it doesn't do the novel or its themes any justice. The monsters themselves, the Darkseekers, they look even worse now than they did in 2007. There was a lot of hype for this movie, deservedly so. It's a great premise. It has good ideas. It has some effective scenes. But based on its star and the source material, this should have been so much better than what it was. I don't even think this is mediocre, and I'm going to be kind to this. I'm going to give it a C- with the caveat that I never want to see this again.
Yeah, I just want to use this opportunity to give a shout out to Richard Matheson, who wrote I Am Legend in 1954. A lot of folks may not know it, but the guy wrote so many novels that are actually so influential to film in terms of the adaptations, and has also successfully written a lot for Hollywood. And he's been on Twilight Zone. He's worked very closely with many Hollywood greats. So considering that and how influential I Am Legend is, the Will Smith version that we got really is just a bastardized version that big studios looked at for years to say, we really love this IP. Let's make like a big budget version of it. Let's have one of the hottest stars of all time, the lead in the film. And, it was a good decision because Will Smith is great. But you have two halves. You have a really great half that really successfully captures the isolationism of the original novel that I think is probably the best that I've seen when comparing to other films like Omega Man or any other adaptation. But otherwise, you get the second half, which is just crap. it's just so jarring how badly this film drops off. I hadn't seen this also like basically since high school, and there's a reason why. Funny enough, and I just wanted to close with this, the poster for the film, the tag is "The Last Man on Earth is Not Alone." And that's actually the same exact tag for the film Omega Man. So if there's ever been a reason that you think that the studio is on the nose, just trying to continuously push on whatever they think is going to be a commercial success, it's like, well, why don't we just take clippings from the different films from the past and have it be like a teen girls poster from all the Us Weeklies they had? Having said it, I don't know. It's just not very rewatchable for me. It's average, but slightly below. It's a C minus.
Dennis, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys for having me. And again, got to shout out my business, DB Quality, if you guys need any home renovations.
We can plug you for sure.
Of course. Everyone knows where to go. Say it one more time, Dennis. Nice and loud.
Yeah, it's DB Quality Paint. You know, you can find me on Instagram, dbqualitypaint.com, Facebook. And yeah, thanks again. Yeah, a lot of fun. Great movie to review. Plenty of stuff to bitch, moan, and complain about.
It's great content for Why Wasn't It Better, for sure.
Great content.
And the pleasure is all ours, and we can't wait to have you on again, Dennis.
Yeah, looking forward to next time.
As always, we want to thank everyone for listening. If you are new to the podcast and you like what you hear, please follow us. Please subscribe to us. We encourage you to leave comments on YouTube and Spotify. We're on all the major social media platforms, Instagram, X, and best of all, Letterboxd. You can see our full list of films that we intend to cover there, as well as various other lists. Links to all of those are in the description for our episodes. And if you want to throw us a few bucks, we have a Patreon that you can become a patron at. That's patreon.com/WWIB podcast. You can get access to our episodes a week early and ad-free, among other various levels. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.